Music teasing.
Blessed risings, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where in the world you are tapping in from. You got to keep in mind that Keep It P podcast is a global show. And today on this episode of Hold the Mayo, we will be discussing how Putin views the choice between Harris and Trump and what the election means for Russia. Do we care what it means for Russia? Look at his beady little eyes. He looked like he eat people too. He just do. I didn't make it up. He just looks like that. But all right, family. We're back with another Keep It P breakdown, and this time we're diving into what Putin might be thinking about the U.S. election, especially between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. We've got to peep the game from a foundational Black American FBA perspective and see what it really means when foreign powers got eyes on who's calling the shots in the U.S. Now, this ain't just politics. It's about how FBA people get pulled into these global agendas that got nothing to do with us, family. So let's get into it. Why Russia cares about this election? First, let's understand why Putin is keeping a close watch. This election is crucial for Russia because each candidate represents a very different approach to foreign policy. Harris, as Biden's running mate, has represented a standard establishment view, a continuation of traditional U.S. foreign policies that lean toward keeping sanctions on Russia and extending NATO's reach. You know, that's the type of stuff that's kept the U.S. and Russia in a constant power struggle. On the other hand, Trump's stance with Putin has always been, let's just say, interesting. He's criticized NATO and sanctions, saying they're a drain on resources. For Putin, this election is a toss-up between a possible return to the pressure cooker status quo under Harris or Trump's more unpredictable approach, but both options are two sides of the same coin when it comes to FBA interests. So the real question becomes, how is this election shaping up to impact us? And let me tell you something. As much as he jokes around like, yeah, I want Harris, and then cozying up to Trump, but keep in mind that Trump put the most sanctions on him that he's ever had in history. Just to let y'all know that little tidbit. This isn't me caping for either side, because once again, I'm talking about how this is going to impact us. Trump and Putin, bros or nah? We all remember those Trump-Putin comments where Trump looked like he was a little too cozy with the Russian leader, looked like Bussy to me, and the media jumped on it saying Trump is too close with Putin. But why was that such a big deal? The U.S. establishment didn't want any hint of a peaceful relationship with Russia. Why? Because the Cold War tension between the two countries props up the military-industrial complex. These corporations eat well off a constant conflict. It's about the money. Follow the paper trail. Hello, McFlizzle. Not trying to tell you what to think, trying to show you how to think. That's why we break down the articles the way that we do here on the Keep It P podcast, where we take news, situations, and everyday occurrences, and we show how one could or cannot be keeping it P. And I'm your host, Teasing Von Savage, in the place to be. Now, Trump may give the vibe that he's anti-establishment, but that doesn't mean he's doing anything for FBAs. His America First talk had a lot to do with making deals with Russia on the low while he played tough guy in public. But let's be real, even if he's chopping it up with Putin, he's not bringing of any of those benefits to FBA communities. Let's be clear. He's not bringing any of those benefits to FBA communities. That's why it's Couch 2024. That's why it's D's Nuts 2024. Hashtag that. Shout out Rand. Kamala Harris, status quo queen. Then there's Kamala, who has no problem sticking to the traditional U.S. stance on Russia. She plays right into the hands of the Democratic establishment which, let's face it, wants to keep Russia under pressure and maintain that military industrial complex we mentioned earlier. Harris might throw around democracy and human rights talk when it comes to Russia, but she's done nothing for FBAs who are dealing with domestic oppression right here in the United States. Don't forget, Kamala has a history of playing the game. Look at her track record with Black folks in the U.S. We see you, Kamala. We see you. We ain't forgot about your California Attorney General days. This tough on Russia stance is just another way of keeping the traditional military agenda intact, which has never helped our people. What's in it for us? The FBAs. Ain't that what we should be concerned about? Isn't that what it's all about? Everybody else is concerned about themselves. Putin's concerned about himself. Trump's concerned about himself. And Kamala's concerned about her Indian people. That's what it is. I'm just keeping it honest and real. I'm keeping it 100 with you, people. Right? Come on now. Let's break it down. Whether it's Trump playing Putin's friend or Kamala doubling down on sanctions in NATO, neither one of these moves benefits foundational Black Americans. What both the GOP, the Republicans, and the Democrats establishment do is keep us in the mix for votes while pushing global agendas that have nothing to do with the real needs of our communities. Russia, sanctions, or NATO, it's all chess moves that don't help us one bit. Neither Trump nor Kamala is talking reparations. They're not talking about policies that uplift FBA communities or repair the harm done by systematic injustices. Indeed, they're using global posturing as a smoke and mirrors act to avoid addressing the needs of FBAs. Putin's interests lie in keeping the U.S. divided, but that division doesn't translate to progress for us. It's just another angle in the power game. And the FBA bottom line is, so here's the real, as FBAs, and I want to be clear, we're watching this election from a clear-eyed perspective from the couch. We're not picking teams based on what's good for Russia or the U.S. military or any of these power players. What we want is to hold both sides accountable to our demands and needs, period. That's it. That's it. Tangibles. That's what we're talking about. Tangibles. What have you done for me lately? That's it. Not the scare tactics of if you don't vote for us, we're going to go back to slavery. We don't need your fear mongering. We need policies. We need you to cut that check right down the middle. Whether it's Trump cozying up to Putin or Kamala riding with the status quo, this election doesn't shift our core mission. We need to stay on code, focus on policies that empower FBA communities, and make sure that our votes come with demands attached. Because at the end of the day, global leaders like Putin care about their agenda, and we FBAs got to care about ours. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's all. What did we learn here today, boys and girls? That we don't care what Putin thinks. We don't care. It doesn't affect us. And we don't care about this election if no one's talking about what we're talking about. And that is it. Let me make that clear. If they're not talking about what we're talking about, then they're talking about nothing. That's it. Gonna leave you with 4 words, as we always do around this time, because I ain't gonna hold you. I'm just gonna mold you, fold you, and scold you about being off code. Subscribe for the vibe, like for the spike, comment your vomit, and share if you care, if you dare, to get Black empowerment everywhere. We're on all the platforms: Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and Facebook. Come and take a look. You might get hooked, but don't get shook by the imposter Keep It P podcasts that are out there. Love, peace, blessings. and Maloha. I gotta go high for sure. High. You already know how. Big brother, light bright, supremo Mike T. Signing off.
Music teasing.